of this AI interview series, Living with AI. It has been renamed to Living with AI, by the way. It used to be AI and the New Now, but I thought this one, Living with AI, was somehow easier to remember and pronounce for more of us. So I'm very, very glad and thankful to have a very, very, very special guest today with us, Ronsley Vaz.
Hey Jen, how are you? This is great. How are you? This is thank you for
I'm
having me.
great. Thank you so much for being here because I know how busy of a businessman you are. So, Mr. Ronsley Vaz is a computer scientist, entrepreneur, speaker, author, software engineer, and a very well known podcaster. And today we're going to focus on how to run your podcast efficiently and probably using AI too. So, he's going to, again, share how he's helping businesses to grow using AI and podcasts. So, again, it is a very relevant, timely topic for many of us, and I'm very much looking forward to this conversation today. So, again, welcome, Ronsley. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So, I did a little bit of research, and it seems like you've interviewed over 1,500 people, and your podcast has been listened to over 5.1 million times. That's that what a number, and it has been listened to again in 133 countries. So it's very special indeed. It is an achievement, and you're an inspiration in that, it proves and shows us how we can all use podcasts as a critical business tool, especially for your niche market serving our own audiences. So, if that's okay with you, let's start by talking how podcasting help your business. How you can business branding and
Yeah.
amplify your business.
Well, let me start with saying that I think that a podcast is like one of the most pivotal parts of any business today, primarily because the one act of having a podcast does so many different things for your business. Um, you get to meet people, you get to meet new people and have conversations with new audiences. You have a chance to like talk about what you do. So the best thing about a podcast is like it's voice. It's like the most engaging form of any piece of content. Like I'm just gonna talk about the audio for a second, leaving the advantages of definitely recording in video and having a video channel today, in 2024. So um, from an audio perspective, when you think about it, it's the only form of content that you can consume while you're doing other things. Every other piece of content, you got to stop what you're doing. Video, you got to stop to watch. Book, you got to stop to read. Article, everything you got to stop to consume. But with just the audio, you can do other things. Go to the gym, go for a walk. Feel like you're getting more productive. So when you think about, especially a lot of people like right now, maybe listening for the first time, it's like, well, that one act of just having this regular piece of content going out in one form, whoever wants to listen, even if there's one person listening to that, even if it right, and it's the right person that listens to the whole episode, then for a business, that's very valuable. So I just want to put that out there as in first idea. Voice. Second idea is the voice is very powerful. We've been sharing stories from previous generations using voice, like stories, like it's been very like, this is how, our parents taught us different lots of things. And also parents sing to their kids and talk to their kids before they're even born in the womb, right? You have this like connection, this voice, this. So there's so many different layers of trust and idea sharing and also in a lot of places we're taught not to raise our voices. We're taught like, okay, don't say these things. What if these people say or think this of us? Like, so there's a lot of different things coming together for one person to be, putting out a podcast. And I think a podcast in a business can just, I don't know, do so much. But I'm so biased about it because I've been doing it for so long. And when I started doing it, I had to explain to people what a podcast is. And now after COVID, especially, like everyone knows what a podcast is. It's so Good to see people using it. Use it. It is just use it properly, use it sensibly. Start anywhere. Like, my first podcasts were rubbish. When I listen to them now, it
Mhm.
just so yeah, that's that's what I got to say about that.
Awesome, awesome, amazing. I mean, I couldn't agree more. Voice is so powerful and it shows your brand identity too itself. It
Yeah.
presents something. It contains so much energy to it. So people will recognize so easily. And then, as you pointed out, we can do many other things while listening to podcasts. I think and believe that is one of the reasons why people listen to audiobooks so much these days. And I also do consume many of the audiobooks and audio contents too, because that I can do while washing my dishes or doing my typing, things like that, right? So again, it is a great tool. It is a very timely topic too with AI. And I want to discuss a little more about that. Two elements I'm focusing on these days with AI is creativity and innovation. And I think podcast is such a great tool in terms of spreading your creative and innovative ideas too. And you mentioned somewhere that it is easier than ever. You just pointed out too, right? Easier than ever with different tools,
Yeah.
including AI probably, and to make tasks easier and the templates for both speed and quality. So, can you share some of your tips in how to utilize these different tools in a smart way to, I don't know, to spread your creative and innovative ideas,
Mm.
and it so it can shows your brand identity properly and sensibly.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a timely. You're right. I mean, I didn't think about. I don't think about a lot of things when I come in to do some of these chats, these conversations. That's why I love them so much. And I feel like this is very important things because you point out some stuff that I'm thinking about, but I haven't been able to express it. And then you ask me the question, you're like, and then I'm sort of forced to express it in a lot of ways. So now more than that, because AI, everyone's like looking at the same kind of content. Because again, the two different things. I've been saying this one line for like 10 years at least. The best thing about a podcast is that it's easy to do. The worst thing about a podcast is that it's easy to do. So the thing is that it doesn't work for a lot of people as well because they're not thinking. We feel like we've got to be good at doing everything, and I that's why I kind of liken being an entrepreneur to being a mother, because I think mothers are the original entrepreneurs. Like mothers have had to like be the food giver and the hug giver and the take the homework and the driver and the food. Like there's all these different things, and entrepreneurs no different, right? You got to learn how to do marketing and advertising, especially when you're starting out a founder, right? It's like you might be a really good chef, or you might be a really good lawyer, or you might be a really good business coach, whatever it is. But there's all these other parts of business that comes along, like marketing and advertising and recruitment when you get a team. And the biggest jump you can make is going from solopreneur to entrepreneur. So there's so many things that you're learning. That's why a podcast is so valuable, because when you set it up right, you're having these conversations authentically. Like you can't hide your voice, right? That's why a lot of people don't use it. They're scared not to put it out there. There's a factor for that as well, 100%. So there's the authenticity is going out, and then you can use that authenticity uh, and ask AI authentically and with right ethical considerations and with the sensible manner to hit your business goals, to like replicate and multiply and do it efficiently and do it with so much more creativity. Um, I asked it to analyze my voice, and now when I give it commands and I ask it to write anything, I say write it in my voice, and it writes it like how I would say it, but better than how I would say it, right? I was like, whoa. So again, with AI now, everyone's an AI expert because they have a Chat GPT account. And again, I didn't really want to get, because this was computer scientist, software engineer was like a past for me, right? It was like I built this whole brand right now on podcasting, helped so many people and started the first podcasting conference in Australia and wrote the book and did the TED talk and all that. I was like, I don't want to get into AI, but then there were so many people saying things about computers, AI, values, ethics that
Mhm.
was not right. Like they were just making stuff up. Like they were literally making stuff up. There was like, and they were on stages. There were stages that I respected as well. And I was like, how? Why? Like, and then I realized that we've gotten to a point where marketing is what's the latest hype? Let me jump on this hype without knowing anything. I'll learn along the way and I'll charge other people. So it's like a sixth grader going to class and a seventh grader teaching them how to use this new technology, whether it's podcasting, whether it's AI. So what I'm here to say as well is like, understand that you're always learning. I'm always learning. I learned today a couple of things that I wrote down while we were starting this whole conversation. Like, this and I think, okay, I'm gonna stop talking because I think I'm preaching too much, but I just feel like it's a good time. So you just understand, learn how you can be, yourself. Learn. So I think that's the whole thing. That's the whole point is like, how can you be yourself while you create all these assets around you and you learn all these tricks. Right now you can do things that scale authentically using podcasting and AI, right? And I literally just spoke about it right now for the first time. So it's like I'm putting these things together, but I'm putting them from like a space of I understand computer science and software engineering and how to talk to computers. I can program in 21 languages, and it wrote a thesis on the whole thing. And my process quality thesis was like how to build processes that can achieve outcomes and get accredited. And then for the last 10, 11 years, I've been putting out my voice and learning how to say things and be things and coach other people and do it and to get a business outcome, right? And I'm like, wow, this is like I've been training for this this time for like 20, no, 30 years, right? And you're like, it's all sort of come together and they think it's an overnight success. No, it's like this suddenly now it's like, oh, 30 years has sort of come together. That's crazy.
Exactly. That's an inspiration indeed.
Hmm.
I mean, as you point out, it's AI is like a buzzword and it's such a hype. I understand. So I believe, such an expert like yourself is helping and leading the trend is, I think, something else. So if I'm understanding it right, you're not quite recommending to, start utilizing and putting everything out there just out of
I'm
nowhere. Rather, you might want to prep yourself up a little and take some time to understand a little more deeply about this whole thing, the whole realm. Or is it right?
No, yeah, you're right. I mean, and you use the word two or three times in this conversation, brand identity. Like, what is your brand identity? How can you create a platform that amplifies your brand identity? And then you have business goals. How can you use AI with your brand? Like, this is what I stand for. This is why I care. This is the transformation I give my clients. Now amplify it, like now use AI to do it, but do it properly because you're going to consider lots of things. You're going to consider fairness, equality, bias. There's lots of responsibility right now, and AI is an infant. It's learning from us. A couple of weeks ago, a very well-known researcher, Asian American researcher, came out and said that AI is actually getting dumber because it's interacting with humans.
And it's learning from us.
Yeah, and I find that so hilarious because you know we've got so much to learn, and it's not intellectual. It's like how can we be more human, like learn kindness, like collaboration, like so many things that we don't go to school for, but like I think those are the things we should be judged as people, right? It's like, is this person kind? Like, it doesn't matter whether the person has got 3 doctorates and has got a PhD and has cured cancer, but if the person's a total jackass, then does it really matter? Like, you know what I mean? So it's like about these other skills that we can incorporate. And when we start businesses, especially like founders, we start from a purpose of like, I really want to solve this problem. Like I really want to do that in a way that I enjoy myself. Like I love doing these things and I want to build a business around it. So learn how to do it properly, understand the responsibility that comes with it, do it ethically. Representation, like make sure that AI is so biased right now that if you write and ask a question or prompt in English, in British English, the original real English, it responds in American English because it has been scraped. The basis has been thought, the chat GPT especially, from scraping the web. And most of the websites are in American English because that populates most of the English world. So you can even see the bias right now. So if you understand that there needs to be all
Mhm.
this capture of wisdom that we've lost, wisdom that exists in nature, like bird patterns. We know that these have existed forever, like these algorithms that have existed in nature. Indigenous wisdom, like people of old, they knew how to create this. There were like collaboration. There was like big families. Like there was this whole unity. There was all this, sense of belonging and this I belong to the land. I don't own this piece of land. The land provides for me. Um, there's so much wisdom that has been destroyed that we need to capture and put back into AIs because otherwise it's gonna just do the same thing that has been captured. And if you think about what has been
Mhm.
captured, it's media, like hype and just to like sway people's opinions on things, right? It's marketing.
Mhm.
So just like we've got so much responsibility. I feel so strongly about this, right? So um, it's good to be able to even express it, right? Like, get to a point where you can say it like this. And I would love a recording of this, please, because there's lots of things I said for the first time here. Thank you, Jane.
Mm. It is a critical point indeed. So the other night I was reading Levi Strauss, and he was pointing out how, you know, civilization, it aims to respect diversity. And we are going to thrive based on it. But in the end, at the end of the day, it becomes all, you know, it in the end goes to the same direction because it starts to, the diversity and different, cultures they start to influence each other. And I thought it was fascinating because this AI hype is some very very good proof that shows such a phenomenon. um, like you start language for one
Hmm.
is such an important factor. So
Hmm.
it impacts your thinking and impacts who you are. So I mentioned about brand identity, but it also affects who we are as a person. So in that identity, language does a very, very important role.
Yeah.
And because we start to utilize AI in our thinking process and it gives us feedback, even oftentimes, um, language and thinking are being influenced by AI, and to the point of British English and U.S. English and Australia. Because I understand you're from Australia.
Yeah.
I even at one point asked ChatGPT what's the difference of Australian English because I don't know. I just learned the English they taught me at school, right here in one of the Asian countries, right? So Australian English must be different. I don't know deeply, but it must be different. But it doesn't imply sensitively those subtle differences. So again, this is a huge topic, and we need to be constantly expressing these, you know, I think have more conversations on these topics because we will eventually forget if we don't point out over and over again, and especially for the younger generations because the education is done by AI too. So there are good things and bad things too. Upside is that it is easier, convenient, and more pervasive. More people will be educated with AI and better education, probably. But on the other side, we will lose these subtle differences so that we will eventually lose those respected differences from one another. So yeah, I think it's a very timely, important, crucial topic to discuss. So thank you so much for bringing that up. But I also, I'm sorry, I also wanted to ask you about how to engage your audience in the right way because we're talking about
Yeah,
podcasting over here.
yeah,
So you mentioned it's so important to reach to your right audience rather than just drawing
yeah,
people
yeah,
in. So
yeah.
you need to have a specific target, and there's a way to do it, or the whole system and magic behind running an engaging podcast to attract your own audience. I think it's a very, very, very important thing to keep in mind before you start running your podcast, right? Because once you start, it's somehow gets more difficult to
Of course,
change your path or
of course.
direction. So before you start, how can you make sure that you are speaking to the right audience? Any advice on this?
Yeah, great question. So, um, it's really important when we're starting, when we do our whole brand identity piece, and I'm going to build from that because it's very relevant. When you do a brand identity, you kind of understand, okay, who's the audience, right? We do the colors, the logos, the fonts, the way the whole brand looks. And when this brand identity, there's lots of other words that go with it. This is the way I want someone to feel when they interact with my brand. This is how I want them to feel once they've finished, once I've delivered my service to this person. So this person is really important because if we can make, if our business exists to make their lives better, then how can we give it to them in the quickest, fastest way for all the different types of people that exist in this bracket that I can help, right? So if um if for me, for example, is like business owners, right? I feel very strongly about founder business owners who have got this idea and they want to build it, and business comes in the way, and there's these little hacks. You can just have podcasting and artificial intelligence. It takes care of a lot of things in the building of that, right? So I'm focusing on the people that kind of know that they want a podcast, and they kind of know as well that they that AI is here, and it can amplify, and you can potentially have uh, a one-person $1 million company easily, but you can also make a very big impact by employing other people in other countries as well, and you can teach them different new skills, and this all these other things that you can bring as a result of growing revenue in a business, and you can do it single-handedly almost. So I'm for me, I want to focus on it. I don't want them to buy from me necessarily. I want them to understand certain things, because I don't I don't care if they buy from me. I care that they do it, right? I gen because usually we get into business for the client, but we have this underlying thing that we want to solve the problem, right? So what if we could solve the problem without even seeing them? Like how could we kind of like just give it to them that way? So then you start to try to realize, okay, these are their problems, these are their pain points, these are the things they're believing. So I want to say, well, like I get it because I've been there. The thing is that because I've been there, I have to remember what it's like. So I have to have empathy for that state, right? I have to go back, and AI does it really well for you. What used to take ages to break down pain points and those kind of things, like fears, like what are they thinking at night that they're not even sharing with their partner? Like what are those things? And they're like, oh yeah, of course I had those things. I forget them now because it happened a while ago, but I remember having those things, and I also remember what helped me get out of those things. So AI
Mm,
helps with that, because now I can give, like, I want to help, I just don't know how, because I'm saying I'm giving you all this stuff and everyone's getting confused. But now, because I know, okay, these are their pain points, these are their fears, this is what they're worried about, this is what, what if I do the podcast and I don't get a return on investment? For sure, all the business owners are thinking that, right? And you're like, well, I promise you, I've not seen one podcast that has not worked in one way or the other, whether it was a learning block, but it provided like a foundation for whatever was to come next. Even expression, how you sort of deliver things change dramatically, even if you do it for a year and you stop. So many advantages to a podcast. So find then doing it for the right people, and they can see that you care. um, Build a podcast on that, right? And then if you want to add another trick to that, you go, this is for all the people trying to create a podcast right now. Like, I want them to listen and go, I can do it. Okay, if I'm doing it on my own, this is the way I can do it. And if they can do it on their own, do it on your own, right? You can, like, it's simple. I did it on my own. So it's like, now you know who your audience is. Who do they see before they see you? So in the week, in the month, in the year, who else? Who are your partners? Who has the same target market as you, but no competitive overlap? They do different things to you, right?
mm,
And then you collaborate with those people and you say, hey, we care about this. We care about the same person, but we care about two different things. Come on my show. I have a show for these people, and let's talk about how we can make their lives easier. And you not only have a content tool, you have a business development tool, and you have return on investment, you have return on content, you have return on relationships, you have return on everything with one podcast done right. And then you have AI to use in the brainstorming process and the repurposing process to, like, amplify that authenticity at scale.
mm. Awesome.
Yeah,
So,
cool.
so speaking of amplifying, you do have a book coming up. I saw on your post, LinkedIn post. It
Yeah,
is called Amplify AI.
yes, I'm in the book writing process. I just about 30,000 words. I have to hit 50,000 words by 15th of March. My first book, Amplify, was written in 2016. It was all about, how to use a podcast for your business. And this is a really great story, Jeng, on how AI sometimes is better at us, right? And you spoke about rebranding this podcast. I've rebranded way many times as well, so I understand the process. I understand how we learn certain things when we do our first round, and we learn, okay, there's certain things that we can do better now that we had this experience, and we rebrand. We create another version of whatever we built before. So, I had this, I called it AI Geeks, and then I called it, my first podcast, the first version of this podcast called My AI Love Affair, how I stopped being married to working long hours. And that was by a friend of mine, who we were in a conversation. He said, why don't you call it this? And his name is Julian. And he just wrote it out, and it sounded like a great name at the time, and we ran with it. We did 64 episodes, and went, well, now we know more, and I'll rebrand it. So I asked AI, I said, see, okay, you know lots about me, because when ChatGPT even first came out, like three, if you said, who is Ronsley, it would say, it would like, and can you write in Ronsley's voice? And it would say, this is Ronsley's voice, and this is how. So I think because I had so much of podcast content before, so it already knew things about me. But then I gave it more information. Okay, this is what I care about. This is what I want. This is what I want to achieve. This is what I really want. I want to help these kind of people, and they're in this position. So knowing all these things, like, and this is my podcast. This is what it's called right now. Can you help me name it? Like, give me some options and pick the best option and give me a reasoning. And in the first go, it says, it gives me all these options, and it goes, I think you should call it Amplify AI, because your first book is called Amplify. What you're trying to do is amplifying AI, and gave me all these reasons. And I'm like, whoa, that is crazy. Like, understand that it's intelligence. understand the difference between it's not it's a life form just like us. It's silicon based, we're carbon based, we need food and water, it requires data and power, and understand how this is evolving, and you can like
Mhm.
really use it, really use it well. So that blew my mind, right? That just crazy. It
Mhm.
gave me the thing that was right in front of my eyes. So yeah, new book, Amplify AI. It's all around how to ethically use AI to hit your business goals, and making sure it's in alignment with your brand identity. So the fact that you brought up brand identity so many times is kind of like, they say it's coincidence, but I'm starting to believe there's nothing is coincidental. Like it all just sort of is like one big puzzle, and then you can look back and go, oh, that's how it came together. But at the time, you're just like, just this is enjoy the journey.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I really look forward to seeing your book sometime soon. And any, closing remarks before you go? I
Um,
believe, many of us, many of the audiences must have questions. I just, um,
yeah, I
wish
mean,
there would be, so they can connect you after this if they have questions for
sure,
themselves. So
of course.
any closing remarks and where they should visit you.
Sure. Thank you, Jane. Yeah, closing remarks. Very simple. Uh, Voice is very powerful. My ancestors did not have the opportunity to switch on a microphone, say whatever they wanted to say whenever they wanted to say it. And I think a lot of our ancestors didn't have that opportunity. Like voice was very much, don't say these things. You can't talk about these certain topics, or not. Don't speak about that. But there's such so many elements here, and if we can teach the next generation to just use their voice, because it is so powerful in so many different respects. Understand that it's a responsibility, that there are other people looking at you that could take potentially an example of out of what you're doing. So use your voice, and you can't find your voice if you don't use it. So use it. And Ronsley is a very unique name. So if you just Google me, you'll find, and I'm very happy to help. Please send me any questions or whatever you need. I'm happy to come on other people's podcasts. I thank you for asking. It's a service that you're doing. I respect wherever you're at in your podcasting journey, and thank you for having me, Jane. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much. It was a very meaningful conversation.
Thank
Wish
you.
you all the best. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining today. See you next time. Bye